Hey guys, welcome back to Taste of Victory. It is almost time for that new meta, so you know what that means, the predictive BT6 tier list. Thank you to Llamaboy, who is in this chat with us, for making this tier list, and we are also joined by Bluenumemon. That's right, it is a 3-person tier list. Say hi, guys.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
Alright, so let's go. We're going to have a really thorough discussions. We're going to have some fun here making this tier list. So let's go ahead and get started. We got 4 tiers here, 1 being the best, 4 being absolute trash. Let's go ahead and start in the order. Let's see here with the BT6 decks up in front, and then we'll get back to older decks and how they're affected by the meta. All right, so guys, first up, BL Star decks. How are we feeling about this? Because it's a really unique deck from other decks, because it's like kind of a supported Megazoo almost type of thing. How do we feel this place in the meta? I think it's going to be pretty high up there. Sorry for interrupting.
2.
2? You think it's a 2?
Yeah, I was going to say high 2, low 1.
Yeah, I think it's a really high 2 because it's going to run into some consistency issues because of its gimmick. But if it grinds you out, it kind of like seals the game.
Yeah, they got a lot of nice removal. They do have a little bit of a problem with level 7s usually if they're not doing something like Millie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because their removal is kind of limited being purple as a whole. So yeah, I think 2 is a really good spot for it. Probably will end up. All right. Next up, we got Jesmon. This is one of the most hyped decks going into the meta. There is a lot of hype for this thing to be best deck in format. Honestly, I think it deals with brickiness a lot. That it might have some a little bit more struggle than people are predicting, but otherwise, this thing is amazing and has access to everything you would want. This is a tier 1 deck in my opinion. How are you guys feeling about Jesmon?
Tier 1. I don't think it's any debate to put it anywhere other than tier 1.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Tier 1.
It's the red Lord Nightmon. It's correct.
It's Lord Nightmon on red, yeah. It's got piercing, like it's so easy to get it to like over 15,000. It restands, it gets great tech +1. This thing's a beast, it does everything. Like I said, it has some consistency issues because you gotta run all those white cards, but it's not enough for me to say it hinders the deck into a whole other tier. Alright, so Titamon. So Lava, you're like really excited about this deck, right? Why don't you tell us what's so hype about Titamon?
I'm gonna be honest, I don't know where... I mean, I like mess around with Titamon a bit, and I think that the card is cool. I don't know if it's like tier 1. I put it like tier 2, I think. It can randomly kill you, but it's also just like, it doesn't do that much aside from randomly killing you, and being 4 cost can sometimes hurt without like the proper stack.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's also it feels like it's a little slower to get going compared to like some of the other decks that we'll talk about later.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. It's more mid-rangey than a lot of the aggro decks that are going to be focused on.
Yeah, to me, Titamon really feels like an aggro deck that isn't complete yet. Like if they were waiting for more support to come out, like they planned ahead or something like that. Kind of what Titamon feels like to me. It feels more like an engine really than its own deck right now. So we're thinking low tier 2, tier 3.
I put it tier 2, yeah.
Yeah.
Unless something else.
I mean, probably not low tier 2, maybe like mid tier 2.
Yeah, I think mid tier 2 is fine.
I think that's fair. Alright, so far we're going with mid tier 2. Cool. Next up we got Pile Volcano So this is like that new stuff that Black is getting, what's it called? Like decoy and all that? To be able to target something else for removal. And I think this thing has reboot as well, so more into that reboot support. So Black was a like really sleeper hit in the North America BT5 meta. We saw it took a couple of wins, like 4 regionals back to back, and like Gen Con or whatever. So it's kind of hard to predict. I still think I still want to say like Black's gonna be really low tier in this meta. At the very least, this build of Pile Volcanomon and reboot focus stuff, which I'm assuming like the backup megas like Black War Greymon or like the War Greymon that's in Black. I hate that they did that. But what do you guys feel about this? I don't think it's going to be too good. Although Pile Volcano does have a niche, I would say, of having a good matchup, I would say, into Jesmon.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, is that I think it's like really relevant depending on how many people play Jesmon, because as its own deck or as a tech in other Black decks, you can run it to really mess with Jesmon a lot, because they only have 4 copies of Jesmon. So if they can't clear your Pile Volk, if you have a blocker or decoy, and they just lose their Jesmon, they're gonna like run out of steam, and not have like anything else to do aside from just like having a bunch of low costs on the board. So Pile Volk has a like niche good matchup there. But I don't know about its like the rest of its matchup spread. I don't know how it does into like the bonds and other good stuff that comes out of the set.
So into Gabu Bond, it's kind of iffy. It depends really on what kind of Gabu Bond they're running. If it's something like an Ancient Garu version or a version that's not running Rattlestar, it's going to do a lot better because it's able to go wide, kind of stop the aggression. And if they try to Gabu Bond, they can bounce one blocker, but if you have a second one, it dies, and then Gabu Bond just immediately digivolves, and it's stuck. Swinging into something like Security as a Gabu Bond. Against Agu Bond, you lose because you just lose your Pile Volk. And against Musketeers and Security Control, it usually just kind of folds because they just remove the big stack that you're trying to protect that's supposed to degenerate the big stacks. It might even do pretty good into Titanmon just because it's able to degenerate the stack, but it's an anti-meta choice.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like from what I'm hearing. I think, having those good matchups into the top decks of the meta really pushes it up a lot, even if like the rest of its stuff is bad. You don't really care if people aren't running those other decks to see those matchups. So being a really good anti-meta choice, I don't know, I think this is maybe like low end of tier 2, because I know like in BT5 everyone's putting black in like D tier, F tier, tier 4. I think it's a lot better than that. So, I'm feeling low end of tier 2. What are you guys feeling?
I think low tier 2, high tier 3 in that range.
Yeah, same. I'd probably just for safety just put it in tier 3 and then maybe later bump it up if we are like, you know what, maybe.
Okay. Yeah, I think low tier 2 is really something that like it could achieve. But yeah, I think if we want to just be safe, we'll put it like the very top tier 3. But it's definitely a top tier 2 or low tier 2 contender for sure. All right, looks like next up we got Ancient Garurumon. So I'm assuming this is Ancient Garurumon Tribal, and there is a lot of hype. Like we've seen buyout prices for this card because people are excited for all the support that it's getting in BT6 along with Gabu Bond. So Llama, you are like in love with this version of this deck. You've been testing it for months. What do you feel about this one?
Tasty, what's wrong with you? So I myself play the Rookie Rush variant, but the Ancient Garu version is also very potent. It's like there are two different play styles, right? Or not maybe two different play styles, but kind of two different goals to achieve with Ancient Garu versus Rookie Rush. Ancient Garu lets you get a lot more swings and like a lot more pressure, but at the cost of burning out a lot easier and a bit more consistency issues, because instead of just needing to find your Gabu Bond, you also need to find your Llamaboy and Ancient Garurumon, which can definitely hurt. Right, because you might not find all the pieces, or you might end up with a weird hand because of all these pieces that you need to be running.
Yeah.
But it's still definitely a good contender, and if you find the pieces, it's gonna kill your opponent really, really fast.
Right.
Yeah, it's a high ceiling. Well, what is it? It's a high ceiling.
High ceiling, low floor.
Or low floor.
Low floor.
So it's got a wider range of. It may do really bad, but it can also do a lot better than the Rookie Rush version. Whereas the Rookie Rush version is going to have that narrower window, so you're not sitting there with your opening hand looking like Gabu Bond, Ancient Garu, a single rookie, Matt, and your first draw is a Hammer Spark.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking.
So I think I put it tier 1, right? Just like I think the Gabu Bond engine in general is just really, really strong. And aside from possible consistency issues and burning out, I think it'll do well into a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I think the Gabu Bond engine like carries a lot of blue decks that you want to put into it. So I think you could definitely make the argument for tier 1. Yeah, I think that's good. Okay, so next up we got Black Royal Knights with like Grankumon, Craniumon, all that. So Numemon, I think you've said you've been playing with this one, right? How do you feel in that deck compared to other black decks?
So the deck is kind of a wild card. It's a very, very I don't know the word for it. You can build it a lot of different ways. There's so many different. It's a toolbox. A lot of its tools are kind of like geared towards whatever decks you're trying to potentially play against. And they have a lot of pretty decent anti-meta options, like Chikurimon. You slap that as a 4-of in there, and something like Jessmon that pierces into your security gets de-digivolved. It's gotta take a little bit of time to build back up, or if you're fighting a Gabubond or Agubond, they hit a Chikurimon and it de-digivolves. If they're swinging in and they reveal an Alphamon, and you have one of your Royal Knights like Genku or Crania out, you can stop a lot of their attack pressure into some other matchups, like trying to think of some of the others, like Three Musketeers. If you can get up into your level 7s, you're in a pretty good spot. It's just got like little techs in it that will help you in certain matchups, and you kind of have to build it towards what you want to do. So again, it's sort of in that same vein as the Pile Volk deck, where it's a lot of toolbox anti-meta options that you're just sticking together in one deck with a Royal Knight package.
Would you guys say you put that above like the reboot decoy Pile Volcano style of play? Where are we feeling on this?
I definitely think it's a high tier 2, low tier 1 pick.
Wow.
I'd put it in tier 2, just solid tier 2.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Solid tier 2 deck.
It's not like the strongest deck, but it has options for playing against the other decks.
Okay.
Yeah. I think I put it above Ida. Yeah.
Okay. All right,
I think that's a good spot.
That sounds good. All right. What was I gonna say? Okay, so next up we got Ancient Troye. So this
Tier
is basically
4,
just
it's a horse.
Tier 4, move on.
Tier 4, move on. Yeah, you're just tossing it in old deck. Yeah, like old BT5 deck list. You're tossing it in.
It's at least tier 3.
Tier 3. I would say so because
tier 3.
You're basically just tossing this
3.
into Grand Kuwaga old list, like Quagmire and stuff. Yeah, so like, and I just can't keep up anymore.
It's green control, but like, it doesn't do anything. It has.
Right, everything's too
I think
aggressive.
one of the big things, similar to Power Volk, is that it has a niche matchup into Gabubond, because as long as you're not like keeping your Ancient Troya in range of like getting hit by a Gabubond or getting Rattlestarred, you know, if they warp into Gabubond, they're not gonna have very many attacks because it's gonna get suspended as soon as it unsuspends. So it has a like niche matchup there, but it just kind of does really badly into everything else. You play into Jessmon, you can't suspend their sisters because they're blockers with Blanc. You play into Beelstar and it does nothing, and then just for the most part, just kind of does worse and worse as you list other top decks and stuff.
Yeah, I feel like Ancient Troy is just a band-aid given to like BT4 and 5 style green decks that didn't really help it keep up with the new meta. So,
It's a plant for future sets. That's all it was.
Yeah, basically, it's like that hype card for future sets. So yeah, tier 3 I think is perfectly accurate. Okay, so next up we got Azulong. Like, this one's got a lot of hype going into it because this is paired often with Hex. Hex is on this list, but like, you can just forget about that because like often you're gonna see these two paired together as like a boss and like sub boss. So just consider on that. But yeah, I think this is a really slept on deck. Like, this could potentially be tier 1 or at the very least very top of tier 2. What do you guys think?
I'd put it in tier 2.
Yeah, I'd put it in tier 2 as well. I think it's like, Azulong promotes a lot more aggressiveness that Hexablau didn't have in the in BT5, like with Old Force.
Yeah.
Old Force was the best aggro card, which like was okay, but Azulong is a 13 to 15k if you have Gizamon, and can wipe your opponent's security in one turn, and then either restand off the new Majiramon to finish it, or go into Blitz Omni for game. So it just puts out a lot of pressure, and really forces your opponent to play around the Azulong, and not just being like, oh, it's Hex, I can just like leave my stuff there and Digivolve into it when I need to swing. Right? Azulong is like, oh, I need to actively make sure I don't let him like wipe my security with a single Azulong and just like have it all go down from there.
Yeah. When you consider some of the matchups you're going to be going into, against a deck like Jessmon, if you have BT1 Ikakumon to make it unblockable, you're swinging in for so many checks, and Jessmon has to be playing around you the whole time because they'll have all their sisters out that they can't do anything with. Yeah. And Azulong's like, all right, I'm going to get all these extra checks. I'm unblockable. Majira's going to restand me. I'll go into Omni and swing for game, I guess.
Yeah, pretty much.
But then you have other matchups like Gabubond, where Gabubond may have like 1 or 2 bodies out at a time, at most. They're usually pulling up out of raising, warping into a Gabubond, clearing out the board if you aren't already at a Zulong or at Hexplow. Basically tearing apart your opponent's security and then going from there. So it's like the secondary blue deck after Gabubond.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I think it's King of Tier 2 because of Gabubon just capping that ceiling, you know?
I would still put it like higher in tier 2. I don't know if you put it above or below Black Royal Knights.
I'd put it like the very top of Tier 2, at least so far, in my opinion. It's a really good deck.
It does also have a kind of bad matchup into Seccon and
That's true.
a little bit of a bad matchup into whatchamacallit, Three Musketeers, depending on what they hit in security. Because if you only have your Zulong out, Happy Bullet kills it.
That's true.
Fly Bullet kills it.
Okay, so yeah, at the very least we'll put it behind Three Musketeers.
So, I don't know. It's somewhere around that area between those 3 decks.
I think so too.
Yeah, it's somewhere there.
It's really tied up once you get up into that upper Tier 2, so yeah. It's somewhere. It shuffles around between, based on what we see in our meta. It's basically what's going to happen. Alright, so Dynasmon. This is next. I don't know, I feel like this card isn't complete yet, if you ask me. Like, we've seen what it's doing in BT7, it's crazy. But like, I feel like it doesn't give yellow enough aggression in BT6, which is what you need in this format.
Do we already have Lord Nightmon on the... Okay, there's Lord Nightmon. Just saw it.
Mm-hmm.
So, Dynasmon does have a small like niche where it can help prevent aggro.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that hasn't super been explored yet is the fact that English format is going to be getting some extra promo cards that wasn't available in the Japanese meta.
Yeah.
So a lot of the yellow decks have options with Kudamon and Kentorosmon now, which kind of help certain matchups, kind of don't. Dynasmon just kind of isn't at its peak yet on its own.
Yeah.
It needs other pieces.
Yeah, as a standalone, I think it's like, I don't think it's its own deck. I think it's a good supporting piece if you want to bring back old decks like Mostemon or Greymon. But aside from that, it doesn't do much on its own. And like, yeah, it doesn't really do much on its own aside from, you know, like Numemon said, milling those Kentoras to use the promo Kudamon.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'd probably put that somewhere in tier 3.
Yeah.
Below,
I think Tier
below
4's a little
Pile Volk,
harsh on
above Ancient Troya, probably.
Alright.
Just because it's still got all of Yellow's tools, and Yellow's tools are really good, especially with like Wyvern's Breath, Blinding Ray. Just a little bit of everything Yellow's already had is just already solid enough that I think I'd put it above Ancient Troya at least.
Alright. Yeah. I think that's fair. It's a good spot for it. Alright, so we got Ancient Greymon here. Ancient Greymon, so Spirits. I don't know about these guys. I think they fall off hard in BT6 because it's like Gabubon that's getting all the support that synergizes with its old cards.
Yeah, it doesn't get much new stuff.
Yeah.
This isn't a very tamer or hybrid focused set, so they are the same that they were before, but a lot of other colors got a lot of buffs, so it doesn't really keep up.
Yeah, Ancient Grey gets some cool stuff in BT7, but like right now he just feels like a Ragna deck with more clunky steps, in my opinion. So I don't know. I think 4 is really low for this one. Maybe lowest end of tier 3.
I'd put it in 4.
Yeah, I put it in 4. It just kind of doesn't do very much.
Yeah.
It does one thing, and a deck with a blocker
Stops it.
one.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it has
Yeah,
piercing
it's a
now.
pet
If
deck.
you have, if you have the one
don't
of,
get the new Flamon that gives it piercing, which makes it a little bit more relevant.
Is
but
that
like,
the set? Oh, I thought that was... Yeah, it is the set. That was
Yeah,
BT7.
but it still
It
still
helps,
doesn't come
but
up too
it doesn't
much.
come up so often. Yeah, it's a pet deck for sure. Okay, so now we're getting into the bonds. So I'm guessing here this is listed separately. This is more like the Rookie Rush version that people are really excited to use. There's a lot of hype coming in for that. So Llama, you just said earlier that this is like the version you prefer actually. What do you think?
So yeah, I think the Rookie Rush Bond is just really good. It's a lot more consistent than the Ancient Garu version, right? Because you'll have less pieces to search out.
Yeah.
And a big thing is the new promos that are coming out. We get the promo Gabumon,
Oh,
which
yeah.
is old tamer, which is the old Agumon, which revealed top 5 to add a tamer.
Yeah, it's BT1.
So you don't need to. One of the big benefits of the Ancient Garo version was running Strabimon, because Strabimon could search out your tamers, but without the need for Strabimon, it gets a lot more consistent, because that's a Gabumon that you can warp into a Gabumon later. And the deck itself is just like really, really strong. You die pretty hard to like security control and stuff, but I think you have really strong matchups across the board. You can randomly pull out lethal from nowhere. The Mat Tamer, the Mat, and I guess the Tie Tamer as well are both really strong, letting you dig for your pieces more, and having more memory manipulation to end the game with stuff like Lobomon is just really, really good. And this is I'd say it's definitely a tier 1 deck.
Oh yeah, I think there's no arguing. This is like tier 1 for sure.
Yeah, but you see, if your Gabumon dies, then you lose. So I think you'd probably put it in tier 4.
Tier 4.
True.
Big brain.
Think about it.
Big brain tier list making. Tier 4.
Nah, but yeah, it's tier 1.
Yeah, it is.
And I'd put it above the Ancient Garu version just because, and it's something that
yeah, it's way
we
more
gotta
consistent.
recognize a lot between EN and JP is that in English format, we do best of 3s and JP does best of 1s. So you want to value consistency a lot more than high roll blowouts.
Yeah, that's really important. Yeah, it's crazy how much those extra rounds make a difference. It's huge. Best of 3 versus best of 1. For sure. You could probably say a lot of the same arguments too for Bond of Bravery, because I know they changed it in English, right?
Yeah, Bond of Bravery.
Yeah, okay.
Bob.
Yeah, Bob. It's crazy. There's a lot of people are sleeping on this one compared to Bond of Friendship, but there's been people testing and like they saying it's really good. It's really slept on, especially because like the thing with Bond of Friendship is you got like no threatening security. Your best thing in security is Rattlestar, but because of the just the design philosophy of Red, Bob is a lot more threatening security, which gives it a really huge edge in such an aggressive meta. So I think this is probably still tier 1, but like the lower end of tier 1, just because it also runs into a lot of the issues of Red, where it's really one-dimensional.
I'd put it probably a little higher in tier 1. What the Agumon deck has an advantage with is the fact that it's sort of a hybrid between an aggro deck and a security control deck.
Yeah.
You're sitting there with things in security like Gaia Force, if you really want to run it, Transcendent Sword, Atomic Blaster, that are just going to keep you at the same level as your opponent, whereas you can also be digivolving your Agumons into something like the promo Greymon that gets Sec +1, and you have all these different ways to boost your DP off of your starter deck Agumon from the Gallant starter deck, and your promo Agumon for both having plus 2,000 to your security attack Greymon. You stick a Demi Miramon under there, and you have an 8k swing at +1 right from the start of the game for only 2 memory. And if your opponent cracks back afterwards, they're either killing your Greymon, so you can just keep setting up your next kind of relevant swing, or they swing into security. Maybe they hit a bunch of Agumons, but sometimes they're going to be hitting stuff like Atomic Blaster, Gaia Force, maybe some ties to help propel you into your Agubond win con. And Agubond also has that ability to trash security, which helps a bit in the security control matchup.
That's a very good point.
Yeah, it also has a pretty good matchup into Gobblebond because of the fact that you have the threatening security, and if they try and go wide, you can Atomic Blast all their rookies away, so it kind of makes that matchup a lot more difficult.
That card is busted. Yeah, that's an insane option. Yeah, so we're putting this above the Ancient Gardo version. You think like equal in power to Friendship for different reasons?
I'd put it somewhere around there.
Yeah,
I think probably put it slightly above the Rookie Rush version, just because
Really?
it has a better matchup into the Rookie Rush version with Atomic Blaster.
That's interesting. Yeah, because like all the hype is going straight to Bond of Friendship, so it's really slept on. Okay, cool. All right.
I mean, what do you think, Llama?
Yeah, I think that's fine. I think like considering its matchups, I think it has a better matchups for Red, because like I think some of the biggest decks that we're gonna see are Jesmon, Gobblebond, and Security Control. and Agumon does well into security control, and Galamond, I don't know much about its Justmon matchup, but I assume it's not too terrible either. So in general, it just has like a really good spread of matches, and it's generally just like, I don't want to say underdiscovered, but I think just like underhyped, that people aren't like expecting to play it a lot.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, cool. So now we got some trash on the tier list. So like, this is just tier 4. Like,
Yes,
wait,
the
wait.
best part of the tier list.
no.
No,
Are you kidding? No.
top of tier
What?
1.
No, I'm saying we can't get into the old stuff. You skipped a very important new deck, which is Eosmon. I see
Where
it
is
at the
he?
very end of the.
Oh, there it is.
There he is.
All right. This
Tier
is still
1.
Tier 4. Tier 1
Tier 1
Eosmon.
deck.
Tier 1
Above,
Eosmon. Yeah.
above Jetsmon.
This is Huang Zero's main deck. I hear he's gonna be like maining this deck. It's because it's tier 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually heard that too. He's been
Yeah.
hyping up Eosmon for a while, so
Yeah.
wait for his tier list, guys. He'll probably put it somewhere towards the top.
Oh yeah, he's gonna hype it up like crazy. Buy those 50 level 5 Eosmons now before they get bought out.
So anyway, getting into the actual Eosmon discussion, I'd probably put that deck somewhere around where Dynasmon is.
Yeah, I think so too.
The deck is very, 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 very interesting. It's a very unique playstyle where you're just slamming level 5s off of each other for a while.
Yeah.
The problem is consistency. You need to be seeing your tamer as early as possible. And in addition, your level 4 Eosmon gives your opponent the advantage of playing a tamer. And this is Gabubond, Agubond territory, where you give them the tamer that they need to kick your ass.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's also, yeah, it's just like one big thing is that it's like it's very similar to BT1 Omnimon. It's just tied to a gimmick of having both sides having a tamer, or having enough tamers to like shove a bunch of sources underneath and pop a Digimon. But like it doesn't really do much outside of that. And you're normally going to be passing turn with it, so once you do, your opponent just kind of kills you anyway after you Digivolve into Eosmon. So it's just kind of okay. It doesn't do very much, but it's there. It's a deck that you can play, and you might see like some success with it, but I don't think it's gonna be like that big of a deck.
It's just a
It's the
deck,
D Brigade of this set.
I guess, yeah.
Or maybe it's gonna be the black. Who knows?
With the,
With the
cult, like,
BT6
following it has. Yeah, that's a really good point too. Because like your boss monster, you're basically just building up to Omnimon, like you said, Llama, and like the source gimmick. Like you need to have like certain Eosmons or your sources or whatever. That comes from trash when you digivolve into level 6, right? And it's like you're in green. It's a green and white base, so it's like, what support do you have to fill up your trash? You're like relying a lot on like battle sending it to trash and like your lower levels and stuff. And I think like maybe some.
To be honest, there was actually a few other variations of Eosmon that showed up in JP. I think the most successful versions usually ended up being the green ones, but then followed up with like you splash for black iron fisted onslaughts and stuff.
Yeah, I saw those lists too, where it's just kind of a weird mix of just like, I guess like security control style of just like you kind of set up and let your opponent die as you get yourself set up. So.
I think I remember like some yellow, white builds like that. Yeah. It's a fun pet deck to experiment with for sure. Basically,
it's an engine. You throw some other cards in it, and it usually does its thing while you bottom deck all the other cards.
Yeah, like
funny thing.
Go ahead, Lana.
No, a very funny thing you can do is because the Eosmons can evolve over white Digimon. You can play a funny amount of Eosmon in Jesmon. Since you play at the level 3s and 4s, you can go into the Eosmons from there.
Funny.
And just like, it's not very good, but it's a funny option that you can play around
with. It's really funny. Yeah, it's a deck you can really experiment with. It's like really interesting design they did with it. But that's also what's kind of holding it back because it's so irregular from the rest of the game and slow.
It's the Diaboromon. They designed it to be hard countered by Agubond and Gabubond. It's like Omnimon kills Diaboromon.
Basically.
Yeah. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah. Okay. So, but yeah, all that said, like I wouldn't be surprised to see it taking some like mid-tier tournaments. Like I definitely think you can sneak some wins with it, you know, just for fun.
Yeah, you'll definitely sneak wins with it, but the thing is, it's...
Yeah, so like, whatever tier your deck is in here, don't be discouraged, you know, play what you want. But anyways, we got what do you guys call it again? Commandramon. So we got the little Commandramon.
You skipped Sarismon. We didn't even get to discuss it.
What is there to discuss? It has too many pieces, and you can't hide in raising.
Well,
meta.
There was a
we
new
have-
Rosemon that has
on.
Digisorption now.
Yeah, you
No,
got
that's
Royal
BT7.
Nuts. But you do get Royal Nuts, and you get Kiwimon.
That was
I think.
BT5.
That
It was BT5, we already have
BT5.
those.
Really? Okay, so then nothing is gonna help it in BT6. This is trash.
No, it has you can play Pomumon now, and it's a 3/1 5000.
You sure can.
So
Also,
then
What a saving
important
grace.
green buff is you get Arbormon.
Yeah.
You now have a hybrid that you can randomly kill your opponent with.
That's true. But that's
and
just
you
in general.
have you have Blasted Disaster. You know, it exists. It gains you memory sometimes if they don't have a memory blocker. And
Yep.
also they have more than 3 things on board because you're never having more than 3 memory unless your opponent bricks.
All correct statements.
Okay, so you guys want to move it out of here, or?
No, keep it.
It's not. That's tier 4 5.
It's still tier 4. Yeah, but
But
like,
it's on the list. We got to discuss it.
there's stuff
Yeah.
you could do to update it and play it. Yeah, but yeah. Okay. Oh yeah. Okay. So D Brigade. Like, what do we think? I still think this is tier 4 just because it's a pet deck, but it's a fun deck. Why do we?
I put it at bottom of tier 3 at least.
Really? What do you?
Yeah.
Why do you
It
think
has
so?
you can go with it. Gnomon.
It just does its thing. It does its thing. It does it well. You high roll into some Commandramon sometimes, and you just win from there. You beat down with Darkdramon after you've swung enough times. You can play blockers. It's fine.
I think you could say that of Eospawn and a lot of other stuff in.
You
I
have
mean,
Iron Fisted Onslaught now is another removal option if you really want it in this deck.
All right. Yeah, bottom of tier 3. Because at your core, you're Rookie Rush, and that gives you a huge advantage right off the bat. And now you're Rookie Rush with Tex if you're playing D Brigade. So yeah, low tier 3, I can see that. It could definitely, sneak away wins and stuff. Okay, good. All right, Don Devi. So this one's interesting. This deck falls off kind of hard, I feel like. I know people were really trying to make it work with the promos. None of the... I mean, I guess you do discard from hand a lot, don't you, in Don Devi? So it kind of benefits from the discarding gimmick they have going BT6. I'm not too sure about this deck. I only know Testro that's like really dedicated to it.
Yeah,
I
I don't think it gets anything in BT6.
I have no input on the deck. It gets tools in EX1, so that's kind of interesting.
it's gotta wait for
honestly
that.
don't know myself, though, what we would put that in.
Yeah, I kind of want to put it in tier 4 just because, like, what does it do? But I also kind of feel like it's underrating it maybe on my end since I don't have a lot of experience with it. I don't know.
Yeah, I really don't think there's much
anything.
you can do with the deck.
Yeah.
It's just there, but like it's not really doing that much.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so then we got Diaboramon. So this deck gets hyped every meta. It's kind of like a Pyogemon because now you got those new promos. You have that Kurosariumon that gives all your tokens decoy, basically. They have the same name as this Digimon. So there is a lot of hype for it because of that. I don't know. What do you guys think? Is that enough to like put it up into contendership with the other decks? Because I think it's a really... How do you describe Diaboro? It's like always on the cusp of being a really good deck. I don't know if that promo will be enough to push it over the edge on the other stuff that Black gets in BT6.
I want to test out the decoy. I think right now the decoy Kurosariumon isn't going to pan out very well. Only because like the top removals you're going to be seeing are things like Iron Fisted Onslaught, which just kills all of the rookies themselves. Wyvern's Breath is going to be a big one. That one just kills your main stack. It can't get around it with decoy. It can get around some things like Agumons Deletion. What else? Gaia
And also,
Force.
the tokens are all level 6, which is important considering Gabumon, because they can't go into Gabumon and balance your entire board because they're all level 6.
Yeah, and I think the decoy is relevant into what is it? I can never remember Three Musketeers. It's relevant into the Three Musketeers matchup just because it can help take those out.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when you're getting Happy Bullet showered and all your tokens are being targeted for that, and then your opponent can just follow up because they got that for free off their Bellstar, and then they can just be like, all right, now your big stack's vulnerable, kill it. It does dodge Gewalt Schwarmer, so that's kind of nice.
It's also true.
Yeah.
So I think it does pretty good into the Three Musketeers if you have the decoy in stack. But until EX1, when we get the blocker Diaboromon, which I think will really, really help, and you know, some of the extra EX stuff like the Infamon and the Caramon, I think it's just gonna be sitting there. I don't know. I'd probably put it somewhere in tier 2.
Yeah, I think it's like low tier 2.
I think it's the bottom.
You can sneak some wins with it sometimes, and the decoy can definitely come up, but it's not doing like too much outside of that.
Okay, yeah. And then we got an old favorite, Grand Quagmire. Everyone was on this deck back in BT4. It's really fallen off. This is an aggressive meta, so I think that alone kind of helps it. You know, just promo Palmon, hit face. But security control is going to be pretty popular. A lot of decks are going to have stack security like Bob. So I think it's a tier 3 deck. I'm not sure where in tier 3 because like it still has good tools. I don't know how well it can keep up with the pace of the new meta though. It's pretty fast.
I think I'd definitely still put it in tier 2.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'd probably put it in tier 2. Into certain matchups, like maybe Agubond, Three Musketeers, and Security Control, it's gonna have a rough time. But into things like Gabubond, Jessamon, those matchups, it might have a little bit of a better chance, just because it's able to just plow through the security pretty quickly and efficiently.
Okay. Yeah, it's not
and
a
a
bad
big
deck.
thing is like a lot of the time that you can promote your what's it called, your Grand Quagga stack, and then, you know, Digiburst go into Chaosmon swing, and then they retaliate and kill your guy. And then normally it'll take you like at least 2 turns to get another swing in, but with Arbormon you can cheese some stuff out by sneaking an attack with a Tamer on board.
Yeah, Arbormon's really great. So we thinking low end of tier 2? But you guys are convinced.
I'd probably put it somewhere around Titamon, yeah.
Yeah, I put it like, either above or below Tida.
Yeah, I think Tida's pretty piece reliant. I would put this above it.
I mean, it's pretty piece reliant too, but
Not necessarily, because your egg puts you at 13k, the Yokomon, and then just swinging off with Kuwag after that, you're pretty safe in general. Seeing the Pommel would be nice.
I think both decks are like relatively piece reliant, but I think Titamon just needs a little bit more to set up compared to Grand Quagga.
Okay.
yeah, Titamon has that 4 Evo cost that's always kind of prohibitive if you don't have exactly what you need in stack.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, the 4 cost is huge. And then we got Imperial Dramon, like old reliable. This guy never leaves the meta. I think just because of the design of it, it's always going to be hovering around hovering somewhere around tier 2. But it doesn't get too much. I think you could run Gabubond in this, I think. People try doing it in Japan. I'm not sure what else you do from BT6 with this.
I mean, you can run Gabubond, but that's not going to immediately win you the game. I'd probably still opt for Blitz Omni myself.
Yeah. It just doesn't get any like new tools is a thing. It's just kind of unlike BT5, which gave it some fun stuff in the Blitz Omni. You just like don't get like anything really significant. You get like some tech cards you can run, but aside from that, you don't have very many options.
Yeah, I think the consistency issues that it has, like how you're always just praying to see your Imperial as your only level 6 and all that, hurts a lot more in BT6 where everything's a lot more aggressive and faster. So I think that kind of knocks it down a tier. I think it's still a really good deck. Like you could take wins with it for sure, but I don't know. I think it kind of knocks it down to like the very top of tier 3, at the very least, very bottom of tier 2.
I'd put it mid tier 2 probably. Imperial Dramon's just that deck that's always going to be around.
Yeah,
and it's kind of a bummer based on my favorite play styles. It does its job extremely well, and it's always just going to do that job at a level where it's going to be around and people are going to be playing it.
Yeah. Keep an eye out for Exit, because this deck gets really good with that.
Yeah, it gets really good in Exit. Yeah.
And starter deck.
And starter decks.
Oh man, we got Lilith next. This deck gets crazy because you got the Ginkakumon package. You got those 3 cards: Ginkakumon, Jinkakumon, and then Ginkakumon Promote. And they have like Rush that you can play out. So this like makes those cards make this deck a lot more aggressive in BT6. But it loses pretty hard to Bond of Friendship from what I've been seeing, because you're usually like sitting on your Lady Devimon to dig for your pieces and all that. So that kind of makes it hard for the meta. Otherwise, I'm not too sure with its other matchups.
I think Lilith Loop, I think it still suffers a bit from the same stuff it suffered in like BT5. Is like, you know, you need to see a lot of pieces in general, and it's just kind of hard to set up a lot of the time. But I think the additions of Ginkakumon Promote and even the new white tamer Manoa, because Manoa is a memory tamer over Mat and Tai, which can be played around and, you know, you just get continuously choked. But with the Manoa that automatically sets you to 3, you can do some fun stuff with that to play your Lilithmon stuff. And you can also run like a small Titamon package is a big thing people were doing in JP, was running some Titamon cards just to have more board presence and more aggressiveness before you get your full loop combo off.
Yeah.
I have no opinion. I never have and probably never will try Lilith Loop. I know it gets nutty in BT7, but like that's with God hands.
Yeah. BT6, it's I think it's like a bit. I mean, I think it's around the same position it was in BT5, because while it does get a bit more aggressive with the Ginkakumon Promote, I think everything else in the format gets more aggressive too. So it kind of just sticks around in the same position as it was in BT5.
Yeah, I'm gonna toss this like mid tier 2.
I think it put it like maybe a bit higher tier 2. I think it has a lot of potential. I think people are gonna try and play the deck and hopefully to more success than they did in BT5.
Yeah, I think so too, because it's got a lot of good tools in this format. It's got actual removal now too with some options. But I don't know. I think it's
at what point do we have to split?
Issues, huh?
At what point do we have to split tier 2 because we're just sticking everything there?
I mean, a lot of decks are tier 2.
Tier 2
Not
is
everything's gonna be one.
tier.
That's the
First
thing.
tier
Like,
2.5.
yeah.
Tier 2.5.
I think it's pretty accurate for the tier 2 to be that big, because I think a lot of people are really way too generous with decks they put into tier 1. But yeah, when are we gonna get tier 2.5 at this rate? It's getting kind of big for bad.
Yeah.
Lord Nightmon though, this deck falls off. Like, it's still a very powerful deck too, but
Yeah, in Japan it was still topping here and there.
Mhm.
In fact, there's one list that we found at one point. No one really had merit to try it, but it was a yellow Royal Knights list is what it was called. And it featured Lord Nightmon, Sakuyamon, and Kentorosmon as kind of stall tools and some aggressive tools with the Lord Nightmon. And just viewing that deck made me think about it a lot, and we have the Kudamon promo coming out, which is going to synergize with the Kentorosmon.
oh yeah.
I think the Lord Nightmon deck will still be relevant enough to run around. It's going to be around for a long time. It's solid at what it does. It cheats costs, which is always fantastic in every card game. It has basically built-in removal with the bodies that it drops. And every single yellow level 3 that comes out just makes Lord Nightmon that much better because it expands the options that it has. In addition to that, we have the Pulsemon lines coming out, where I think the one that's coming out this time lets you set your security to 3 when you play it and gain memory for every security you trash.
Yep.
And I think, if I remember right, we translated that wrong on the main Discord, and it was actually you can choose how many you want to trash and gain that much memory. And in addition to that, it gives jamming, which a lot of times Lord Nightmon players will swing into a security, die, and that's where they kind of fall off from there. At least in my testing, I played some Megazoo at one of these Evo Cups, and every time a Lord Nightmon died on security, I just could swing the game in my favor super, super easy. But I think those little tiny improvements in yellow, Wyvern's Breath is going to be a big thing too, is going to keep Lord Nightmon relevant for a while. Not at the top like it was for BT5, where it was cycling around tier 1 for a while, but I think Lord Nightmon is going to be one of those yellow decks that's just going to stick around for a long time, and there's no reason not to try to run it.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, I think I'd put it right now like high tier 2. I think it can still see some success if people, you know, test the deck around enough. I think a big thing is it didn't get weaker. Everything else still got stronger. It still like has all the tools it had in BT5.
Yeah.
So it's still there's still some stuff you can do with it. So I don't think it's bad.
I'd put it in tier 4.
Understandable.
After my big speech, I'd put it right around where Cresso Tk is, I think.
I think it's
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's fair.
Maybe
It's
above
a really
Lilith Loop.
tall
I don't know. Oh, man.
hall.
It's somewhere in there.
I mean, it has a
It's
good
at
matchup
2.5.
Yeah, it's somewhere in here.
Tier
It should be at tier
2.5.
2.5. Yeah, we should have added tier 2.5. Alright, so next up we got Security Control, represented here by this Megazoo. So this deck is, really controversial. It's been with us since, like, what, the end of 1.5 is when it started picking up steam in English. But now it's got a lot of tools, because it's got the new red structure deck introducing that blaster option. It's got that stuff from BT6. There's a lot of fear that Security Control is going to be huge in this meta. This is like a tier 1 deck, like indisputably, because it's got the tools to handle like everything, and it's got more aggressive, what you need to be in BT6. This is tier 1 for me.
Yeah, it goes in tier 1. I'd probably put it right above Jessamon too, just because it has tools to out everything else in the tier 1 area. I think that's one of the more important things. I think Three Musketeers gives it a hard matchup, but that's about it.
Yeah, you think this is the deck to beat? Wow.
What do you think, Llama?
I think like it has a lot of good matchups. Like the Gabubons struggled a lot into it. Jessamon, without seeing Delicate Plan, can struggle into it. Agubond does relatively well because you can burn the security with the Agubond itself. And then most other decks just kind of struggle with it. Purple Zwart spam doesn't really work anymore because the Gelwolf and Atomic Blaster doesn't let you go as wide as you used to be able to. So yeah, I think it's definitely a tier 1 deck. I think it's like fine above Jessamon. I think those two are like very switchable depending on how the meta turns out. It really just depends on like what the meta looks like. But yeah, I think Second Control is definitely a very favored deck in the meta.
Yeah, definitely. Your deck has to know how to handle it for sure. And then next up we got Mastamon. So Mastamon, I'm assuming this is like yellow base, but I think by BT6 it's not too big of a difference in power. They both kind of fall off. Because the thing is, for me with yellow Mastamon, or with Mastamon in general, you get a lot of tools in BT6 in yellow for some reason to synergize as well with Mastamon. You get Mimicmon, you get what else? That
Beluchimon.
Yeah, Beluchimon. You get that not Wizardmon. Is that his name? Yeah, right. Wizardmon.
Yeah, Wizardmon.
Yeah, you get that guy. You get a lot of stuff that synergizes with the security burn and reviving that Mastamon has. The thing is, a lot of this is like either level 5 or lower or 5,000 DP or lower. So like every deck has an answer to its wide board that it tries to pull off, and it's 4-cost memory. It's too slow for not as much impact. Like going wide alone isn't enough anymore. You have to be able to be aggressive as well. So I think like Mastamon struggles a lot, and it really is relegated to a backup mega in this meta, because I know some lists in Japan were running Mastamon as backup in Lilith Loop, so I think that's what it's going to end up being. As the deck itself, you guys could definitely chime in. I'm feeling like tier 3 for Mastamon. It's really dropped.
Yeah, I'd say tier 3. Its main thing is just that it trashes the security, which is good into the security matchup. I mean, everything else is just kind of fine.
Yeah, I think it's tier 3 as well.
Okay, are we thinking top, middle, bottom? I think this is
Probably mid.
Probably mid.
Yeah, I think mid to top tier is fine.
Yeah, and then we got purple Metal Garurumon. So this is the Digiverse one that plays the options for free. I don't think this changes. If anything, I think this goes down to tier 4, because like it's a lot of pieces and it's a lot of combo stuff, which is kind of if you can't get guaranteed you're out in BT6, you're kind of in trouble.
Yeah, it gets Fly Bullet. That's about it.
Yeah. Yeah, no consistency boost. Yeah, I think this. I don't know. I'd probably put it above Don Debbie. I kind of want to put it above
below Don Debbie, by the way.
You think so? Yeah, yeah. No, really? Because I think
Yeah.
the Digisorption option is at least really good to like try and speed up the game more than Debbie can. But, either way, I think it's not big of a difference once you're in tier 4. And then we got Pluto Mod. It's basically the same strategy as Metal Garurumon. I'd probably put this a bit above it because you got more flexibility. You know, you can run Tactium with your backup mega and all that stuff.
I'd just put it in the same spot as Purple Melga, probably.
Yeah, I still think this is a tier 4 deck. Yeah, it didn't get it much new. And then we got Yellow-Green Rookie Rush. So this is still a deck here in BT6. It became a deck because of Spiral Masquerade and all that stuff. Does this get anything specific in BT6? Do you guys know?
8mon.
Yeah, 8mon's crazy. Isn't it like an 8K champion?
8K 2-cost champion.
That's insane. Just a naturally 8K champion. That's really, really huge because you beat over every blocker. You'll always trade. You know, you live security pretty often. Yeah, I think just by the nature of Rookie Rush, this is an automatic tier 2 deck. I think.
Yeah, I'd put it.
Oh,
I'd put it in tier 2 just because Security Control and Three Musketeers has Gewalt Schwarmer that just clears their board for very little cost. In addition, Security Control also has Ultimate Flare. Red decks have Atomic Blaster. It may not take out 8mon, but it'll take out everything else.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah, the top dog's got a way to handle it now, and Rookie Rush's outs have limited outs to their opponents and stuff, so yeah, it's fallen to tier 2, I would say. Pretty comfortably in the middle. I'd probably put it at least above Lord Nightmon.
I'd put it above a Zulong.
Really? You think it's that? Yeah. Yeah, consistency. Okay. And then we got Chaos Galamond. This is like Llama's favorite Digimon. What are you seeing this in BT6, Llama?
I mean, it's just like, it's the same as what's it called, Pluto Mod. It didn't like see much play, and so it didn't do very well. I don't think it doesn't get anything from BT6, so it just kind of falls off while everything else does more things, so it doesn't really gain much.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the new purple decks have kind of pushed it out in terms of power level. So I'd probably put it in between the others in tier 4.
Yeah. They're all really close anyway, all those purple decks, so.
Yeah. And then we got Cresso Tk. Another one. This is one you actually did a profile on the channel for, Llama. I think pretty much self-explanatory. It's a combo deck, like really combo focused. It's really fragile. It's a tier 4 deck. Same thing.
I'd put it above Ancient.
Do you think it's more consistent than Ancient? Yeah, I think the Digiburst and stuff.
It does more than Ancient is a thing. It also, I haven't tested it, but you can mess around with running Tidamon as an option for the OTK. I don't know how good it is, but it's an option that you have.
That makes sense, yeah. Okay, so then we got Megazoo represented by Puppetmon. I don't know why Llama's putting Puppetmon. Megazoo doesn't run that anymore. But, yeah, it's Megazoo. I think it's a solid tier 3 deck, you know. It's too good to be a pet deck. And I think they have good tools now, so, I don't know, solidly tier 3 in my opinion.
I'd probably put it down in tier 4. It gets pushed out by a lot of top decks. Security Control just blows it out of the water with Wyvern's Breath and Iron Fist. The red decks just beat over it. It might do fine into blue, but you're getting Rookie Rush the whole time anyway.
Yeah,
and Three Musketeers probably doesn't have too much issue with it either.
Yeah.
So I'd probably put it tier 4.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I wasn't too sure of its matchup
as well.
Okay, yeah, I wasn't too sure of its matchup spread, and giving a lot of memories pretty dangerous in this meta, so yeah, we're thinking like middle of it? Top.
Yeah.
Cool. And then we got Green Stun, Green Control, Raphaelishamon. So we saw that towards right now in the BT5 meta, as of the time we were recording this, it's kind of getting some popularity. Max Tapera topped recently with it, and other people have been using it since being inspired by him. But I think in BT6 you have to be more proactive. Like, this deck isn't good enough in BT6 because, like, you stop your opponent, you control him for a couple turns, and then what? Like, you're not closing the game out fast enough. They will recover. I think I want to say this is at least like top of tier 4, if not bottom of tier 3.
I'd put it around Ancient Troye. Because that's basically the same deck. You're either doing like Nidhogg, Raffleasy Troye, or Nidhogg, Troye something, Nidhogg something something, and Raffleasy's probably your other option. So I'd probably put it just with Ancient Troye. It's probably the same deck.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I agree.
Yeah, that's just what I was gonna say.
Cool. Then we got good old Ragnar Lordmon. So this is similar, in my opinion, to Imperial Dramon, where like the strategy is really linear, but like it's effective. So it's always going to be floating around. I think if Imperial is like the tier 2 equivalent of this, this is like a low tier 3 in my opinion, because you're always going to be able to steal games with this because of its inheritables and stuff.
I think it still loses out quite a bit, and it depends on the type of Ragna deck you're doing. Like, at least with the red version, you can kind of buff your security with, like, Gaia Force and Atomic Blaster, and you'll just be fine.
Yeah.
Black version, you can go with, like, the Walt Schwarmer and stuff, so I'd probably put it, like, top of tier 4, maybe. And if you go with, like, a Ragna Zoo version, you might be fine. There's flexibility there, so maybe top of tier 4, maybe very bottom of tier 3 at best.
Yeah. What are you thinking, Llama?
Yeah, I think that's fine. I don't have much experience with the deck. I just know I can cheat out some wins sometimes.
Yeah. Same. Yeah, I think just because of our inexperience with it, we'll toss it at the top of tier 4. Give it a safe call. I don't know. I think that's really because it's really able to steal games is the thing. So I think I'm more comfortable putting it at the very bottom of tier 3. I think tier 4 is underselling it just a little bit. But okay. So let's go up to Shine Greymon. So this one, I know there's players that are trying to make this work. Let's shout out Karan. He is dedicated to this deck. I think he qualified for Nationals with it at a Store Championship. This deck is, well, I mean, you don't get anything specific other than Waveman's Breath, I think, as to replace the Javelins and the Glorious Burst, which is way better.
You also get TK and Kari in this set, which is an additional tamer that really helps push Shine over the edge. So I'd probably put Shine somewhere in the lower end of tier 2.
Wow, yeah, really? You think it's tier 2? I feel like it might be too slow for that.
I mean, new tamer is just really important because it's a tamer that does something. Like, or not necessarily does something, but it just gives you a lot more memory to do a lot more things. So I don't like the same. It has the same or more value as double Kari, except it's not as expensive as double Kari, and you can also do some stuff with the -1k to snipe some DP that you might not have cleared with Shine.
Yeah, with 2 of them out, you can also clear Gabumons from Gabubond or some Agumons in an Agubond. There's some targets that you'll hit with them, and it'll probably do fine.
That's really interesting. I guess we'll have to see the results. I was definitely thinking this is tier 3, but you guys make good arguments. I think at the very least, like bottom of tier 2. I wouldn't put it too much higher with everything in this power level. Okay, so then we got Shoutmon DX. So Shoutmon isn't seeing too much success in English BT5 right now, and then at least in BT6, we're gonna get like Zoo version of Shoutmon, because you get the new Triceramon, which is like what? Is it like a 6 or 5 cost ultimate? So you could just like.
We already have it. So
Triceramon? What
Shoutmon's gonna gain in this next set is a second Shoutmon. And that Shoutmon helps keep your Omega Shoutmons more consistent.
Oh, yeah.
Or Omni Shoutmon. Additionally, you have access to Atomic Blaster, Happy Bullet, and Transcendent Sword alongside your Gaia Forces to kind of make an almost Agubond shell, but instead you're building up a level 7 like BT1 Omnimon to just kind of blow out the game by stacking a bunch of level 6s under it. It's a solid deck from what we test with. I don't know, it's great into some of these matchups, like Security Control probably just blows it out of the water no matter what, just because you're building such expensive stacks really slowly. But, I mean, my biased opinion says somewhere in tier 2, honestly, but it's probably closer to somewhere in tier 3.
Yeah, I'm thinking top of tier 3, because I mean, you do have options you could tech in for matchups, like you were saying, Security Control, you could tech in Delicate Plan, but then that leads to a space issue and consistency issue, hoping you see all that. And then I think it kind of just gets outclassed by Jesmon too in its own color, so I'm feeling like top of tier 3, like the best deck in tier 3, maybe.
Legitimately, you can build probably a pretty decent red deck no matter what, as long as you're siding in a Gaia Force and Atomic Blaster.
Yeah, basically.
That literally is just your deck, and then build red cards onto it.
So, what are we feeling for Shout?
I think
it's
middle of tier 3. Or are we talking about Shoutmon or Shout Zoo specifically?
I say we could just group them into the same deck.
Because like I think regular Shoutmon is like okay, because of its ability, it can pop low DP stuff. So it's like decent into Rookie Rush and Rookie Rush-esque decks like Agubond and Gabubond. And you can sometimes like get a board wipe off Jesmon with it, because you can like Digivolve, shove something underneath, pop the Sistermons, and then swing over Jesmon. Assuming you're not already dead by that point, but like I think it can kind of come up sometimes. I think it's like, yeah, I think like maybe top of tier 3 if we're considering both styles. I think it's fine.
Alright, that sounds fair to me. Next up we got Tactimon. So is this representing Purple Control when you made the list, Llama, or what's Tacti?
I mean, I think it's just like Tacti near the end of BT5 started seeing play as its own deck, so I think it's got its own enough play, like it's kind of got its own play style to warrant it being its own deck.
Okay, I'm
And
not
like
too
considering
sure.
that, I think it's like mid to low tier 3. I think it has a niche in like dealing with Rookie Rush sometimes.
Yeah.
And
And the
like,
bond
it's just-
decks generally run a higher count of rookies, so I could
Makes sense.
see that being a little more relevant.
Yeah, and in general, it's just like it can net you a lot of value in a single card, which is pretty good. It can also do some funny stuff by popping Systemon Blancs versus Jesmon.
Yeah.
But like aside from that, I don't think the deck is doing too much. But like I think it's still probably better than like solo Pluto Mod, solo Chaos Galamond. So I put it like mid tier 3.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because I wasn't aware of this deck. I didn't have much experience with it. So we're going to put in Meteor Tier 3. And then looks like we got Vmon here for good old blue-green Rookie Rush. So, I don't know how much people are actually going to be playing this, but you can just play Gabubon or you can just play yellow-green. What do you guys think of this deck?
I'd just stick it somewhere in tier 3. I don't really know if that's gonna crop up too much.
Yeah, it's just Rookie Rush. It has merits, but like I don't think it's gonna pop off super hard or anything.
Yeah, I mean, this is straight up outclassed version of Rookie Rush between the bonds and... Can I not move it? Okay, there we go. Between the bonds and yellow-green. Next up, we got Greymon, War Greymon Tribal. So this deck actually took a couple of wins in Japanese meta because their security control was getting so prevalent. People were starting to tech against it with that BT1 Warg that stops options. So I think if that popularity carries over, this is definitely like a deck to consider. It's going to like sneak away wins. The Greymon package just has a bunch of great tools in general too, search options, and like Numis said, you could build a great shell of any red deck because of options like Atomic Blaster and Gaia Force. So I think if this is not low tier 2, this is at the very least top of tier 3.
I'd probably put it somewhere around mid tier 3 or tier 4, personally.
Yeah, because like
Really?
the thing is the War Greymon, or like the Greymon line, I guess, doesn't get much support because it doesn't, like Agubond doesn't necessarily work in it because like Nokia doesn't reduce costs and you don't like gain many merits off of the Agubond. You'd rather be playing the Blitz, or maybe not the Blitz, but like just Omnis in general to kind of get their strong effects for a bit of a reduced cost. And like you said, like the teching the War Grey, I think like red decks can do that in general. I don't think you necessarily have to play War Grey Toolbox. I think it's like, yeah, like bottom half-ish. Like I think just like in the middle of tier 3, maybe like top of tier 4. It's like it's an okay deck. I don't think it's doing anything that special.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I see where you guys are coming from. I think with like security being such an important factor in BT6, it's definitely too good in my opinion to be a tier 4. So I'm putting it like middle tier 3. I think it's a good spot. I probably would have put it a bit higher, but you guys make good points that like a lot of it's just a generic red deck. All right, so probably somewhere like there. Looks like tier 3 is actually being the one that's getting filled up. We were like talking about making tier 2.5.
I would need a 2.5 to
Yeah.
condense between them.
Yeah. And then we got War Greymon. So by the end of, or I keep saying by the end of because it feels like we should already be on BT6, but we're like still a month away. But like currently in the BT5 English meta, we're seeing War Greymon being used as a backup mega to Lord Nightmon. And used as a counter even to Lord Nightmon because it's a pretty good matchup into it. As far as its own deck, I guess, I don't know, as its own deck, I think you pretty much do the same thing as Lord Nightmon, just with a little less aggressiveness. So I would probably put this to the very end of tier 2.
I'd put it somewhere around Dynasmon and Mastamon because they all do the same thing.
Yeah, it got some cool support. If you can somehow stick a Dynasmon with Wargrey, it's a lot of value, and you also get stuff like Wizardmon and Tapermon. I think it's Tapermon that benefit off of removing security. So yeah, like Wizardmon gets you a memory, Tapermon gets you a draw. So it just kind of gives you more value that you can use, and the Pulsemon, once you're at 3, gives you jamming, which one of the big things of Wargrey was dying on the first check because you're 11k. But with jamming, you don't have to worry as much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just stick it like right around where Dynasty and Mastamon are on the list right now.
I'm really surprised with that because like they're basically the same deck as Lord Nightmon. I would put it in the same spot or lower tier 2 as it personally.
If you're focusing the War Greymon, it's not going to be as effective.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Okay, so right there in between Dynasty Monster, perfect. And then we got Hercules Kabuterimon. I don't think anyone's running this. This is a tier 4 deck in BT6. I
Yeah,
put this
my
like
boy
Yeah.
does
Your
nothing
poor-
because it's green, and green in BT6 doesn't exist.
yeah, your poor boy. Look what they did
This
to
is
your
a-
poor boy.
This set's around where Hidden Potential is going to start dropping off really hard. We've been testing a lot of the JP formats like BT6 onwards, and Hidden Potential discovered 1.5 busted, BT4, BT5 busted. You get to BT6 and you're like, well, if I'm suspending a thing, I'm probably losing.
Yep.
That's so crazy. The power drop off of that card.
Yeah, it's it just kind of dies a lot.
Yeah, cool. So then we got this deck. This took the surprise in North America. We got Black Metal Garurumon, like black reboot, black blockers basically. So you get to burn a security with this Digiburst if you don't kill something. I forget what the kill target is. It's like 6,000 DP or something like that, right?
6 cost or less.
6 cost or less, yeah. So I don't know how often that's firing off in BT6. But I mean, you want...
Pretty often,
Oh, okay.
actually. I mean, if you look at the top decks, you have both the Bond decks, which are basically rookie focused,
Yeah.
and
rookies.
Agu Bond is also champion focused, and I think all their champions are 6 cost and less.
Mhm.
So it's going to have targets. Honestly, just playing the BT5 version, I would probably put that up somewhere in tier 2.
Really?
because-
That's super generous.
Just because it was undervalued in BT5, and I'm going to try to overvalue it now. It has some targets in both Bond decks. It also burns a security against 3 Musketeers and security control.
Mhm.
So I think it has some variability to it that you can probably mix with maybe some of the Black Royal Knight deck, or maybe even the Pile Volk reboot deck to just kind of get a little bit of an edge over some of the top or better meta decks.
All right. Yeah, makes a lot of... Yeah, if we want to be generous and overvalue it to be safe, play it safe, yeah, I can see that. I think Black Royal Knight's going to be the go-to black deck, but this was worth experimenting with for sure. And then Hex, we discussed it earlier. You just run this as a backup mega to Azulong. But I mean, if you're playing it as its own deck, it's probably going to be tier 4. You should definitely be running Azulong to complement it because it's so much aggressiveness from Azulong. All right, looks like we managed to get through this, guys. I know like everyone here is like dying, getting ready for bed because this is a long video. This is like an hour now, but yeah, this looks great. Like I think this is pretty solid, pretty good prediction of the meta. I think it'll really end up something similar to this. There's gonna be some shifts here and there, of course, as the English playstyle on best of 3 makes differences. But for now, I think it's a pretty good, accurate prediction.
Yeah, it seems fine. I'm gonna go post a copy on Hong's Discord so they can tear it apart in a second.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Fong is toxic. Yeah, he do be tearing it apart. Liz. Well, thanks for joining me, guys. This is a lot of fun doing Mon and Llama. It was cool you guys came on. We can do more of this in the future, and I hope everyone watching this enjoyed it because it was fun to record. I love you guys. So let's do it again sometime in the future. Let me know what you guys think for your tier list. You think we're absolutely wrong in something. If you think Huang is toxic, let us know in the comments. And we'll see you guys in the next video. And until that next video, remember to stay hungry until you get a taste of victory.